Hey everyone, it's Shadow Libra, and welcome back to my new series where I review every single FNAF release. In the last video, I reviewed everything we got in year 1 of the franchise. In this video, I will review everything we got in year 2. Now, something to make clear is by a year, I am talking about the time period between anniversaries. In the last video, I reviewed everything that was released in between the first game's release and the first anniversary. Think of it like this. For FNAF, the start of a brand new year is August 8th, which would make the last day of the year August 7th. So, for this video, I am reviewing everything that came out starting from August 8th, 2015 to August 7th, 2016. Please like, comment, and subscribe to see more videos like this, and I also have a link to my Discord, Instagram, and Twitter in the description. Now, let's get into it. 10 years after the horrific murders at Freddy Fazbear's Pizza that ripped their town apart, Charlie, whose father owned the restaurant, and her childhood friends reunite on the anniversary of the tragedy and find themselves at the old pizza place, which had been locked up and abandoned for years. After they discover a way inside, they realize that things are not as they used to be. The 4 adult-sized animatronic mascots that once entertained patrons have changed. They now have a dark secret and a murderous agenda. The Silver Eyes, released on December 22nd, 2015. This one is interesting because The Silver Eyes is the very first FNAF book in the series. The first of many books. I know people refer to FNAF as a game series because it is one, but there's enough books in the franchise that I like to call it a game and a book series, because it really is both at this point. I enjoyed this book a lot. It's about a girl named Charlie who is the daughter of Henry Emily, the man who created Freddy Fazbear's Pizza, owned the restaurant, and even built the animatronics. She meets up with her childhood friends to honor their friend Michael's memory. Michael was one of the 5 children to disappear at Freddy's 10 years ago. What I like about this book is I think if you are to introduce someone to the FNAF franchise, but you don't want the first game to be the introduction for whatever reason, The Silver Eyes actually works really well as an introduction book. It has the FNAF 1 setting and the FNAF 1 animatronics. It follows someone who is familiar with the restaurant, which allows us to learn about the history of Freddy's and Fredbear's. We learn all sorts of stuff like how Henry wanted to entertain children, and creating Freddy Fazbear's was a project he did out of love. We also learn about William Afton's motivations, the reason he killed the kids. He did it to create a perfect family. William has always been jealous of Henry's family. He wanted a family like Henry's. So when he killed the children, he made sure they bled out and died inside the animatronic suits. That way, the kids' spirits would possess the animatronics. Then, with how easy it is to manipulate a soul's reality, William would talk to the kids' spirits wearing his Spring Bonnie suit. In the FNAF universe, when you are a ghost, your memory is very fuzzy. All the kids remember of Spring Bonnie is how friendly he was before they were killed. They think Spring Bonnie is their friend and they listen to whatever he says. The kids also remember an adult has hurt them, and their spirits have become very untrusting of adults. They believe any adult who enters the pizzeria is here to hurt them, so they feel backed into a corner. They feel like they have to kill in order to protect themselves. That's why the animatronics attack adults. I also find it interesting how kids who enter Freddy's are safe. Something the book makes clear is that the animatronics may attack adults, but they are okay with kids being in the pizzeria. If you're a kid, you're safe. We even see later in the book when the main characters have a young boy with them, Jason. Foxy takes Jason away from his older sister because Foxy thinks his sister and her friends are here to hurt Jason. In Foxy's head, he thinks he's protecting Jason. He's unaware that Jason isn't in any danger to begin with. I always really liked that the animatronics never hurt kids because I think that makes them more interesting. I always thought that made them stand out compared to other monsters in horror stories. Also, any scene with William Afton in this book I think was done really well. We learn that William Afton, deep down, he's just a very bad person. No tragic backstory, nothing. Deep down, William is just a truly awful person. He only cares about himself. He refers to the kids' spirits in the animatronics as his family, because he has found a way to get the kids to listen to everything he says. He even refers to himself as one of them in the book. We also see how sadistic William is. There's one part where he traps one of the main characters, Carlton, inside of a spring lock suit. He then proudly explains to Carlton how the spring locks work, and he even shows off his own scars from getting spring locked in the past. I do think it is interesting how William has canonically been spring locked multiple times before becoming Springtrap, and that he managed to survive. However, we do see in the book that he has scars all over his body. William just loves killing people. It makes him feel powerful. It makes him feel feared. William Afton is power hungry and wants to be seen as above other people. The whole system of animatronics coming to life and killing people, it's all William's doing. William manipulates the kids into thinking they have to kill. William, in a way, controls what the kids do. He is their leader. I like how the Silver Eyes just drops all this on us, especially since when the book came out, none of this was really known information yet. Charlie is also dealing with her own trauma. She knows her father killed himself. He had built an animatronic to kill him. She saw it before she packed up and lived with her Aunt Jen. She hadn't seen her childhood friends ever since she left Hurricane. She has also been dealing with the trauma of her twin brother Sammy. One day before Freddy's at the original restaurant, Fredbear's Family Diner, Charlie and her brother Sammy were playing in the back areas of the restaurant, and that day Charlie had watched someone in a yellow rabbit costume. That someone obviously being William Afton, but she didn't know it yet. William in his costume had kidnapped Sammy and taken him right in front of her. Sammy was killed. Charlie had been carrying that weight for 12 years. Throughout the book, Charlie and John are doing a lot of investigating, trying to discover the truth about Freddy's, what happened to the kids who took Sammy. The group ends up discovering that the security guard at the abandoned mall, which had been built around Freddy's, Dave Miller, was William Afton under a false identity. They discover he was responsible for everything. They discover the kids possessed the animatronics thanks to him. However, what's really interesting is in the book, the main four, Freddy, Bonnie, Chica, and Foxy, all attack the group. They try to kill Charlie and her friends, but Golden Freddy gets them to stop attacking. And that's because Golden Freddy is possessed by their friend Michael. Michael was part of their group. He knew Charlie, John, Jessica, Carlton, Lamar, and Marla. I love so much how the main characters actually knew one of the missing kids. It makes certain parts of the story more impactful. Since they all knew Michael, Michael's spirit convinces the other kids to stop attacking because he trusts his friends. Also, not only is the group connected to a missing child, but also one of their fathers is a police officer who investigated Freddy's when the kids disappeared. And they are connected to the owner of Freddy's, as the main character is his daughter. The protagonists in this book are related to everything that went down a decade ago. The events happening now are personal to them. They aren't just a group of random kids coming in mid-story. They are a group that have been running from their past for a decade. And now they have no choice but to finally face that past. I just love the amount of stuff we learn in this book. I think for the first book in the series, it's cool. Anyway, I've been talking about this book for ages. Let's move on. FNAF World, released on January 21st, 2016. So this is a controversial take, but I actually enjoy FNAF World. I know when it came out, a lot of people hated it. A lot of people still do, and I completely understand why. It's not a horror game. It's an RPG where you can choose your own FNAF character. It's weird. Scott admitted his mindset when making this was he didn't like how focused he had been on making a story about murders and all this human suffering. He said he didn't like sitting around and thinking about that stuff, and he was already over a year in, so he wanted to make something lighthearted, and that's why FNAF World exists. He also says he regrets tying it into the canon, which FNAF World being confirmed as a canon game opens a whole can of worms, but we ain't getting into that right now. Now, when the game came out, it was not good. It was rushed. I do not like the pixel art for the free roam section. We were not told what any attacks do either. Scott realized how bad it was that he took the game off of Steam. He set it up where anyone can refund the game and get a full refund no matter how long they have owned the game for. If you bought FNAF World on Steam when it came out and have had it for the past 8 years, you could still refund the game and get all of your money back. That, I think, was a very awesome move made by Scott. However, you can no longer buy the game on Steam. Scott polished up FNAF World, and then he released the polished and more finished version on Game Jolt for free. Chad move right there, Scott. The polished version is a lot better, less buggy. I like that it's all 3D. I think the game was a disaster when it came out, but it got fixed up and is much better now. I do like the game. I think the whole RPG with FNAF characters is fun. I like the different enemies and all of the bosses you can fight. I think Chipper and Scott himself both being bosses is super funny. And I think the minigames like Freddy in Space, Foxy.exe, Foxy Fighters, and yes, even Chica's Magic Rainbow are all pretty fun. Chica's Magic Rainbow, once you know what to do, isn't that bad. If you're ever bored and want some fun RPG to play, try FNAF World. Like I said, it's now a free game on Game Jolt. It's fun to get all the different endings and unlocking all the different characters. There is lore in there too, which I find interesting. Sorry that I don't have that much to say about World, but I think I said all the important stuff. It started off as a disaster, but ended off as a pretty decent game. Scott has admitted that he wants to try to redo FNAF World someday, because he is very disappointed with how it turned out. So we may get a FNAF World 2 or a FNAF World remake someday. I'm interested to see what that will look like if we do. That's all of the releases for year 2 of FNAF. My favorite FNAF release of that year is The Silver Eyes. I just love that book and how it explains pretty much all the fundamentals and character motivations of the main characters in FNAF. The novel trilogy as a whole, I think, turned out really well. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next part. Bye everyone!